The air inside Café Lumiere was thick with the comforting scent of freshly ground espresso and polished wood, but the tension that settled over the corner table dulled it. A 10-year-old girl sat alone, her hands cautiously sweeping the tabletop in search of a braille menu that wasn't there. Her oversized sunglasses concealed her clouded eyes, but not the anxious way she murmured to herself. "Mommy, come back soon. Mommy, come back soon." From behind the counter, 26-year-old waitress Riley Monroe noticed the girl immediately. She had worked enough shifts in this upscale downtown cafe to recognize that the customer base was mostly entitled professionals who assumed kindness came with a transaction. But this child, rigid in her seat, finely dressed but visibly trembling, was different. She wasn't just waiting, she was lost. Riley wiped her hands on her apron and turned to the shift manager. "Anyone helping table 8 yet?" "VIP," Jordan replied without glancing up from his phone. "Wait for Mrs. Ellington to return. She's picky about who interacts with her daughter." Mrs. Ellington, Camilla Ellington, the CEO of Ellington Dynamics. Her name alone sent most of the staff into silent panic. Known for her exacting standards and zero tolerance for error, Camilla was the kind of woman who could ruin lives with a single bad review. No one wanted to risk it. "But she's been gone nearly 20 minutes, Riley pushed. The kid looked scared. Jordan shot her a warning glance. "You're on probation. Don't give me another reason." Before Riley could respond, the girl bumped a vase on the table, knocking it over. Water pooled across the pristine white tablecloth, soaking the front of her expensive dress. The girl flinched and fumbled with napkins, trying in vain to mop it up. Without waiting for permission, Riley stepped away from the counter. She felt the eyes of customers trailing her every move, but she ignored them. Approaching the girl's table, she knelt down gently. "Hey, sweetheart," she said softly. "I'm Rudy. I work here. Can I help you with that?" The girl froze. "Where's my mom?" "She's not back yet, but I can help you clean up and bring you something warm to drink if you'd like." The girl hesitated, lips trembling. "I'm Ava. I didn't mean to spill. Mom's going to be so mad." "It's okay, Ava. Accidents happen. You can barely even tell now," Riley lied, dabbing the cloth expertly. Ava tilted her head. "You're lying," she said plainly, though with a small smile. "Adults always do that to make me feel better." Riley chuckled. "Smart kid. All right, there's a small stain, but it's nothing a napkin and a smile can't fix. Are you hungry? My mom said not to ask for anything until she gets back." "And when was that?" "When the big hand was at the 3. Riley glanced at the wall clock. "Almost 5. Her stomach twisted with indignation. "How about some hot chocolate while you wait?" "I won't say a word." Ava nodded, a small smile blooming on her face. Riley returned moments later with not just hot chocolate, but also a grilled cheese sandwich and a couple of chocolate chip cookies. She guided Ava's hands gently, describing where everything was. "You explain things differently," Ava noted between bites. "Most people talk to me like I'm stupid." "My brother's blind," Riley replied. "He's 16. I know what it's like to be treated like a diagnosis instead of a person." Ava lit up. She started talking about the books she read in Braille, her love for piano, and how she could tell the difference between people by the sound of their footsteps. Neither of them noticed the sleek black car that pulled up outside. Inside sat Camilla Ellington, her eyes sharp as ever as she watched through the cafe window. She didn't miss a single detail. Riley's kindness, Ava's laughter, the way her daughter leaned into a stranger she'd just met. "Would you like me to accompany you inside, ma'am?" the driver asked. "No, camilleri plaid, blinking." "Wait here." Inside the cafe, the atmosphere shifted as soon as Camilla entered. Jordan nearly tripped over himself, rushing to her side, sputtering apologies. She ignored him. "Riley Monroe," she said coolly, walking straight to Ava's table. Riley stood up slowly, her stomach dropping. "Yes, ma'am. I see you took it upon yourself to feed my daughter." "Mommy," Ava beamed. "Riley was so nice. She told me how stars are like music you can't hear. She made me laugh." Camilla's expression didn't change. She glanced at the empty dishes and asked, "How much do I owe you?" "Nothing," Riley said, chin high. "It's on the house." The silence that followed felt like the whole cafe had frozen. Camilla simply nodded. Very well. Come on, Ava. As I left, Ava asked, can we come back tomorrow? Riley said she'd teach me how to tell a cappuccino from a macchiato by smell. The moment they were out the door, Jordan stormed over. My office. Now. Riley already knew she was fired. What she didn't know was that Camilla was already texting her assistant. I want a full report on Riley Monroe by 8 a.m. tomorrow. By the time Riley returned to her cramped apartment that evening, her resignation letter sat beside a stack of unpaid bills and an eviction notice. Her phone buzzed. It was her brother, Marcus. Don't give up, he said gently. You always said everything happens for a reason. I got fired for helping a child. Marcus. What reason could there possibly be? The intercom buzzed. A professional voice came through. MS. Monroe? I'm Margaret Lynn, legal assistant at Ellington Dynamics. Mrs. Ellington has requested your presence for a meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. The next day, Riley stepped into the towering glass headquarters of Ellington Dynamics wearing her best thrift store dress. She felt every inch the outsider. On the 45th floor, she was led into a sleek conference room. Camilla stood by the window, surveying the city. Yesterday, you served my daughter when I asked that no one approach her. She was hungry, Riley replied. Camilla turned. Do you know why I left her alone for nearly 2 hours? Riley blinked. No, ma'am. To see who would notice her. Excuse me? It was a test. 17 people walked by her. Not one stopped except you. Riley's face hardened. You used your daughter to test people? Camilla didn't flinch. Ava knows. It's a game we play. Margaret slid a folder across the table. Inside was a termination settlement with more zeros than Riley had ever imagined. I'm not for sale, she said, pushing it back. Camilla's eyebrow rose. Everyone has a price. Not me. And using your blind daughter as bait is revolting. The room went still. Margaret paled. No one spoke to Camilla Ellington like that. But instead of fury, Camilla looked intrigued. She asked about you. She doesn't usually do that. Camilla reached for another folder. I have a different offer. Ava needs a full-time companion. Someone genuine. The proposed salary made Riley dizzy. 10 times what she'd made waiting tables. Why me? My daughter has an uncanny ear for lies. You passed her test. She gestured to Margaret again, who handed over yet another file. You dropped out of college to care for your brother. You worked 3 jobs. You've kept him in a specialized school for the blind. Riley's mouth went dry. How do you know all this? I have resources. Camilla leaned in. Your brother is a gifted pianist. He deserves to audition for Wellington Academy. That's emotional blackmail, Riley snapped. This is business, Camilla replied. Opportunities. For both of you. That afternoon, Riley got a call. Wellington Academy wanted to schedule an audition for Marcus. That night, Riley dug into Camilla's past. She found whispers of cover-ups, disgruntled former staff, lawsuits that vanished. But the most damning was a car accident 5 years ago. Ava had gone blind. Camilla had been driving. The case had been sealed. When Marcus brought a music professor to tears during his audition the next day, Riley made up her mind. She would enter Camilla Ellington's world. Not for the money, but for Ava. Because someone had to see her for who she really was. 3 months later, Ava was thriving. She laughed more, asked questions, explored music and science and art. Riley was more than just a caretaker now, she was family. One afternoon, while organizing Ava's books, Riley found a hidden box. Inside, a diary, a flash drive. It's Mom's, Ava whispered. Uncle Theo helped me hide it. That night, Riley clicked through the files. Home videos of a bright-eyed Ava. News articles that had been buried. Internal emails confirming the accident, the cover-up, and years of denied medical treatments that could have partially restored Ava's sight. Sie like going Tao. Why would she do that? To keep control. Camilla is terrified that if Ava sees again, she'll see who her mother really is. The next day, Camilla told Riley they were heading to a foundation meeting. There was no meeting. Riley planted a tracker in Ava's backpack. Hours later, she and Theo arrived at a secluded clinic. Inside, Camilla argued with the doctor. Ava waited alone. She does this every year, Theo said. Test to confirm Ava is still blind. It's about power, not healing. Riley had had enough. They stormed in. What are you doing here? Camilla snapped. It's over, Theo said, handing over documents. The accident. The cover-up. The denied treatments. You don't understand, Camilla whispered. I can't lose her. You already did, Riley said, turning to Ava. I always knew, Ava said softly. I heard you crying. I just didn't know why you never let me try. Camilla collapsed in tears. The doctor stepped forward. There's a new treatment. 60% chance of partial sight. Ava looked at Riley. What would you do? What do you want? Ava's voice rang with certainty. I want to try. 6 months later, Ava stood in the garden of the Ellington estate wearing tinted glasses and pointing at a tree. It's orange and brown, she beamed. I can see the outline. From the porch, Camilla sipped tea in silence. She's healing, Theo said. She's stronger than I ever was, Camilla replied. At Ellington Dynamics, everything changed. Camilla left work at 5. The foundation she once used as PR now funded real innovation. Riley helped run its social programs. Marcus played sold-out recitals. One day, Camilla turned to Riley. Run the foundation. Not as staff. As partner. Why? Because you saw what I couldn't. You believed in her. You taught me that compassion isn't a transaction. On Ava's birthday, the mansion was filled with laughter, not executives, but children and families. Ava displayed her tactile art, created to be felt, not seen. A little boy asked Camilla if she was blind. No, she said, kneeling beside him. But I used to be in a different way. Later, Ava handed her a gift, a textured painting, to remind you that we sometimes have to lose something to truly see what matters. Camilla held it to her chest. Riley smiled quietly. She hadn't set out to change the world, just to do what was right. But sometimes that's exactly what makes all the difference.